Straw Dogs. First, let me just say right off the bat, so we're clear, I want to get this out of the way. I hate this movie. I hated it with a passion. I don't ever want to see it again. The whole movie's about this couple, a husband who's a writer and his wife who's an actress. They moved from LA back to the country where his wife is from so they could fix up her father's old house. Fine, no problems with that so far. Once they get back there, it's clearly made obvious that the husband is not wanted there by anybody in town and that the wife's ex-boyfriend still has feelings for her. The ex-boyfriend comes over and starts talking to her. Hey, sweet baby cakes, how you doing? Remember me, your ex-boyfriend? I still love you. The husband sees that the ex-boyfriend is kind of getting a little closer than he should with the wife. So he goes over to him, and you know what he says to him? You know what he says to this guy? He says, I can see that you clearly like my wife. How's about coming over to my house and fixing everything that's broken? I'll give you $8,000. Come on over. You hate my guts, I can tell, but you love my wife. Come fix my stuff. Stop, pause, red flag. The ex-boyfriend brings a bunch of his buddies over to the house, and they start fixing up the old shed's roof. And more trouble starts to add up when the husband's inside minding his own business and he's just working on his laptop when one of the guys just wanders into the house, opens up the fridge and pulls out a beer and says to the guy, hey, beer ain't cold enough. What are you doing in the house, okay? Another red flag, another red flag. The husband doesn't like that, so he pretty much goes outside to the ex-boyfriend and says, hey, listen, I know you guys do things a little bit different down here. I understand, you know, the whole, you know, we take care of our own kind of thing, and everybody's neighborly, but one of your guys just walked into my house uninvited and took a bunch of beers. You know, I get it, you know, you guys can help yourself to a few beers, but I don't really want him walking into my house uninvited. And then the ex-boyfriend says to him, well, did he give you a reason not to trust him? Yeah, he walked into my house uninvited. What about that didn't you get? I wouldn't trust somebody who walked into my house uninvited. Okay, so you deal with that scenario, and then the next day comes and you get more of the same thing, and you're like, man, this husband and wife, you really feel bad for them because things are just not going their way. What is with these people who keep treating them like this? But then it all flip-flops right here at this scene where the wife is jogging home and the guys, you see in the trailer, they're in their truck watching her running, just watching her ass and everything like that. And then she gets home and they're eye-f***ing her. They really are. And it makes you feel uncomfortable. It makes her feel uncomfortable. She gets inside. She tells her husband, hey, they're really staring at me. They were pretty much undressing me with their eyes. Are you going to say anything to them? And he's like, well, no, honey. I don't think it's right for me to go out there and accuse them of that. Fine, whatever. That's understandable, I guess. So she goes inside, goes up to the window, and slowly undresses herself, and then shows all the guys who's working on the roof her boobs. How does that help the situation? Are you thinking, you know what? These guys basically me on the way over here, and that made me feel so bad. You know what? I know what'll stop them. I'll show them my boobs. That'll get them off my chest. Yeah, that'll get them. I know it will. Hey, guys, you know what? You basically me. Well, you can't do anything now. Here's my take that. How do you like that? And if that's not bad enough, throughout the movie, you get a feeling that the husband is really condescending to everybody in town, like he's better than everybody. He goes to the bar and he sees the ex-boyfriend there drinking with his buddies. He's like, hey guys, what are you doing? Drinking beers? Great. Here's $100. Drink all the beers you want on me. And the ex-boyfriend is like, hey, oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, you want to stay for a beer and drink them with us? And then the husband's like, oh no, I gotta work for a living. Who the are you? Why would you say that to somebody? You know, does this town just turn everybody into a giant And then, like, there's another scene later on. It's late at night, the husband undresses, and he opens up the closet, and he finds the wife's cat hung in the closet, just dead and strangled, and he's like, yeah. Closes the closet, and then walks back to the bed, and then the wife's like, what's going on? What is it? He's, oh, just don't worry about it. And then she walks over, oh my God, my cat's dead. And he's like, yeah, I guess it is. And then the wife's like, you know what? I know it was my ex-boyfriend, Charlie. And he's like, well, honey, we don't know that yet. Oh, well, if it wasn't Charlie, it was Bubba or Francis or whoever his friends are. And he's like, well, we don't know that either. I'm pretty sure they did that. Who the else could it be, really? So the next morning happens, and the ex-boyfriend and his crew are back at the house fixing the roof, and he says to him, hey, why don't you come inside? I got this huge bear trap that you could hang on my chimney for me. And then the ex-boyfriend, Charlie, says to the husband, you know what? We have great hunting season coming up tomorrow. You should come with us to go hunting. We're going to go out into the woods and we're going to hunt some deer. It'll make a man out of you. You should come with us. And then the husband says, you know, all right, I'll do that. I'll go with you. Why? Why would you do that? Immediately, red flags everywhere. Alarms are going off in my head. Why would you go hunting? The guy hates your guts. Here's what's going on. You know what? Hey, you should go hunting. I'm probably gonna out in the woods. Something bad's gonna happen to you. And the husband's like, you know what? You hate my guts and you want to take me hunting. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. Sure, let's go hunting. You know what? I believe you so much that I'm not even gonna check and see if it's hunting season or anything like that, because I put my complete faith in you and the gun that you carry. So he goes hunting with all the guys, even though he doesn't want to. And it's this point in the movie where they're out in the woods and he's like, where's Charlie? And they're all like, oh, Charlie's gonna meet us up there. Red flags again. So guess what happens? While he's out there hunting, a shot goes off near his head. He's like, oh man, what do you guys just try to shoot me? He's like, oh no, we didn't shoot you. It was the buck that ran by. Go get him. We'll break off this way, you go that way. I don't see any problem with that. I'll be left alone in the woods. Sure, why not? Red flags, red flags. So he goes out there and he's in the middle of the woods and he sees a buck. He's all alone and of course he raises his gun and he shoots it to prove to himself that he's a man and that he could do things like that. But ironically, it just makes him more of a and you're thinking, man, that really sucks. Where's Charlie? Because this is the scene that you knew was coming and you didn't want to see. Charlie goes into the house while the husband's out hunting with his patrol and he the wife. I'm not trying to be funny about this, it actually happened. So that it cuts back to the husband walking down the dirt road with his thumb out because guess what? The ex-boyfriend and his crew left him out in the middle of the woods. What a big surprise. He's walking down the road and the sheriff pulls up to him. He's like, hey, let me see your registration for that firearm. He's like, I don't got one. It's not my gun. It's Charlie's gun. It's like, oh, you know, that'd be a shame that if you were out here, you know, poaching animals without a permit for your weapon and everything like that. And he's like, yeah, oh, I thought it was hunting season. He's like, no, it's not hunting season. You're poaching. So the sheriff lets him go and the husband gets back home and he goes up to the bed where the wife is and he goes, you know what? Guess what Charlie did? Him and his boys, they left me out in the middle of the woods. And you know what? It wasn't even hunting season. I'm gonna fire them tomorrow. They're not finishing my roof. And the wife's like, yeah, good for you. You know, that's the worst thing that happened to you today? Yeah, that's gotta suck. She doesn't tell him what happened. You know what? Okay. Fine. It's a very traumatizing experience and nobody would ever want to go through that. So, I mean, I can understand if she wants to pretend it never happened because who would want to think of something like that? But you gotta admit that the guy should know about it. He has to know about something like this. But that's not even the worst part. It's not that she doesn't tell him that she was It's that right after that she's like, you know what? The high school football game's going on tonight. We should go there. Let's go there right now. They go to the football game that Charlie and the buddies are attending. And it's at this point in the movie where there are no more likable characters. They have made so many poor choices that it's hard to go along with them anymore. And as they were at this football game, I found myself no longer watching a movie. I was just staring at a giant wall. Somehow I just pulled myself out of the movie out of sheer dumbfoundedness. Everything in this movie so far has been a compilation of this. How could you do that? What were you thinking? Why would you do that? What the f***? Are you serious? You gotta be kidding me. Another thing about this movie is that there's this mentally handicapped guy who the camera constantly goes back to because he's got some kind of weird relationship going on with girls. You're not really sure what's going on, but the coach's daughter comes up to him every now and then, is really friendly with him and everything, and the coach just hates it. He doesn't want the guy around his daughter. He's super protective over her, and he doesn't want the daughter anywhere near him, so the guy winds up at this football game, and the daughter again goes up to the guy, and she's like, hey, why don't you come with me into the school and we'll just go in there for a walk or whatever. You already know what's gonna happen. So the coach is like, where's my daughter? Anybody see my daughter? And one of the cheerleaders is like, well, I saw her going off with Lincoln, the mentally handicapped guy. And he's like, well, f me, I'm gonna that right now. So he goes to look for his daughter and she's got Lincoln in this storage closet or something like that. And they're starting to kiss and everything when all of a sudden you hear the coach come in and goes, where are you? Where are you? I know you're in here somewhere. And he grabs the girl and he's like, shh, you'll be quiet, just be quiet, just everything will be okay. You know, he's saying that to the girl to calm her down, and he's got his hand over her mouth, and you're thinking, I've seen this before. So of course, exactly what you think is gonna happen, happens. He suffocates the girl because he's got his hand over her entire face, just like in the movie of Mice and Men. So the coach never finds his daughter, and he goes to look for this Lincoln guy, and it's about that time where the husband and wife are going home, and there's about 15 to 20 minutes left in the movie. The last 20 minutes are about the guys breaking into the house, and they're not going after the girl like it seems like in the preview. They're going after Lincoln, that the husband and wife have accidentally hit on the road and brought him back to their house so they could take care of him while the ambulance is coming there. The guys figure that out, so they take the coach over to the house and start trying to break in, and you're like, okay, well this is where the preview comes in. So they're breaking into the house, and you're thinking, okay, wait a minute. The husband and wife came out here to fix up the house. You're constantly reminded about the fact that he's writing a war movie, and you're thinking, okay, well maybe he's like a tacticianer. They've been talking about the war movie because he knows about battle plans, right? No! That has nothing to do with it at all. That whole war movie that he was writing never comes into play at the end where a battle strategy would kick in or anything like that. Nothing happens like that. The guys break in and the husband and wife wind up all the intruders and everything like that, and the movie basically ends. Finally. Great, it's over. I'm glad because I hated it. And you're probably thinking, Eric, you're just frustrated and that's what the movie was trying to get out of you. Because that's what you were supposed to feel. No, I don't think so. That only happens when you're frustrated at what's happening with the characters, not when you're frustrated with the characters themselves. Everything that happened to these characters could have been avoided, and you can't tell me that all this stuff was beyond their control because the guy was a writer. He's supposed to be able to pick up on this kind of stuff. He can tell when people aren't being trustworthy because he's supposed to be able to communicate that through pen and paper. That's what they do. They can tell people, this guy is untrustworthy because of the way he does this nervous twitch and blah blah blah. You pick up on that kind of stuff. And that just plays in with all the stupid decisions that he kept making. It's like, how much do you want me to hate you, movie? This movie is just so bad that not even a bear trap to the head could save it. And that's supposed to be the ultimate redemption to any movie. And you're probably wondering why the movie is called Straw Dogs. Well, there's this scene in the movie where the husband tells the wife, oh yeah, these guys they were football players back then, but now they're just wayward construction workers now, like straw dogs, because there was an ancient Chinese ritual where they would take these straw dogs and decorate them so elaborately and worship them for a time period, and then after they were done worshiping them, they would just cast them aside and they'd be forgotten forever. And that's what they are, just a bunch of straw dogs. Like a Christmas tree. You mean a Christmas tree. The movie could have been called Christmas Trees, because that's what the same thing is. It's a Christmas tree. The only reason this movie is called Straw Dogs is because it was made with every one of the last straw scenarios that have ever been made throughout history. Anytime someone's ever said to you, this is the last straw, somebody came by and picked up that last straw and put it together with all the others to make this movie. That's why it's called Straw Dogs. I hate this movie. I hate it. You've already figured this out. I told you before I hate it. But I'm not going to tell you not to see it, because I think every movie should be seen and just checked out. You know what? It's not my place to say don't see the movie. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Do see it. See this movie. See this movie if you're just having a perfect day and you just want the rest of that day to be shitty. See this movie if you want to be filled with anger and contempt and resentment. Go see it if you want that. That's how I feel about it.